So, The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon totally shook things up by taking the whole zombie apocalypse vibe to France for the first time. This spinoff pretty much zooms in on Daryl trying to find his way back home, but it also drops a few hints about that mysterious zombie virus we've all been wondering about. Norman Reedus, who's been a major part of this franchise since way back in 2010, finally got his own show. Yep, he's back as Daryl Dixon, and this solo adventure totally rocked it, making it a big hit. The new setting in France with all the cool new characters was such a fresh take that they've already renewed it for season 2. Daryl definitely gets to shine on his own, and the whole new French setting adds a lot of drama and excitement. But just when you think you've seen it all, Carol shows up in season 2, and you know that's going to shake things up big time. Her arrival in France is going to add all sorts of new dynamics to the show. Plus, with her coming into the picture, there's even more reason to get hyped about what's next, especially when it comes to diving deeper into the whole zombie virus thing. The origins of this outbreak have been one of the biggest mysteries in the Walking Dead universe, and Daryl's first season already started connecting some dots about how it all began. Even though the show is set in France, it's not the first time The Walking Dead hinted that the zombie outbreak started there. Remember The Walking Dead World Beyond? In the final episode's post-credit scene, they dropped a bombshell that the virus kicked off in France. There's this intense moment where a French scientist is trying to figure out a cure, and then some dude with a gun confronts her. The whole scene spills a ton of info, including the fact that a bunch of doctors were behind the outbreak, and they kinda made things even worse. The woman scientist was hopeful that others would come back to work on a cure, but the guy is like, "In this, you started this." That pretty much confirms France as ground zero for the zombie virus. The show hasn't really followed up on this scene, but it also hinted that a lot of scientists bailed after the outbreak, with some getting locked up or even killed if they were caught. There's also a cameo from Dr. Jenner from the very first season of The Walking Dead, where he talks about zombie variants, giving more clues that France might be the source of these freaky zombies. Now, since World Beyond isn't coming back for another season, it's kind of a mystery where the franchise is going to take this lore. But that one conversation was like the biggest update on the virus we've had in 10 years. Plus, knowing that the outbreak started in France makes the Daryl Dixon spinoff even more intriguing, giving the show a chance to explore the virus in more detail. Daryl's adventure in France was like the perfect setup to dig into the virus origins, and the spin-off did a pretty good job with a few subtle hints. The biggest one? The rise in zombie variants. Right in the first episode, Daryl runs into one of these mutants in an abandoned building. These aren't your regular walkers. One of them actually burns Daryl's skin when it grabs him. The show even has zombies attacking each other and reveals that some of these variants are synthetic, which pretty much proves the French have figured out how to mess with the regular walkers. The spin-off also flashes back to Paris during the early days of the outbreak, showing the total chaos that erupted when nobody knew what was going on. There's even a theory that the shooter from World Beyond's post-credit scene might be part of Jeanette's group, which would explain why these baddies are so hardcore. Even though the show is more focused on Daryl and his new crew, these little nods to the virus's origin suggest that there's more going on under the surface. While it's cool that the first season sprinkled in some references to the outbreak's beginnings, season 2 definitely needs to dive deeper into this stuff. With season 3 reportedly moving to Spain, Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol, might be our last shot to really explore the whole French angle, and World Beyond already hinted there's a lot more to uncover. So far, we haven't seen Daryl stumble upon anything related to the mysterious Violet or Primrose teams, and he hasn't really learned much about how the whole apocalypse kicked off. That kind of feels like a missed opportunity, especially since France is such a key player in the Walking Dead universe. The show doesn't have to totally change its focus, but it would be awesome if Daryl ran into a few people who actually know what went down at the start of the outbreak. Finding a cure seems like a long shot at this point, but having Daryl and Carol learn more about the origins of the virus and bringing that info back to the survivors in America could add a whole new layer to the story.